am filling in for Baronade. Not sure what's up with him. I hope he's okay. So this is on easy. I'm going to start the run and then let's explain some stuff. 3, 2, 1, go. So Adel's all the way gone shipwrecked, as Adel tends to do, and waking up in the clinic.
Yeah, he has a unfortunate habit of ending up wrecking his boats. The true villain of the E series are boats, and Adel unfortunately never happens to win against them.
Occasionally, for as much as we meme on it, he actually doesn't get shipwrecked that often.
No, it's true.
It's just that it's very dramatic when he does.
Yeah. And it's even like the series even jokes about it in I believe it's 7. The game Dogi straight up says, "Hey, we didn't get shipwrecked for once. Great."
Don't push yourself, says the nurse. Of course, the first thing we do is run out of town.
Yeah. So East One is, of course, the original version of this game came out in like 1987. So it was back when action RPGs were still getting started on what they wanted to be, and so Falcom decided, hey, we're making this brand new RPG where you're running around on the field. How should we make Adel attack? Well, the best way to do that is they probably went to the fun house right before that and saw kids going around in the bumper cars, and they're like, yo, we want to make that into a video game. Thus we have East 1. So once we end up getting into fights, we'll be attacking enemies by just charging into them face first.
Let's see if I can do this clip in a reasonable way. Ah, there we go. Second try, that's good.
Nice. Yeah. So here's what we're doing. You can explain it.
This doggo is the first boss of the game. I managed to pass the first boss of the game.
Hey, didn't hug the doggo.
Did not hug the doggo.
The amount of runs that happen to end to hugging the dog is a little bit sad.
Much sadder than we wish it'd be. Typically for more optimal runners, they do the actual first boss at level 2. I'm going to be doing the first boss at level 4, and in order to make that happen, I am going to get extra experience by doing a particular side quest. The first flag is to talk to this woman hanging out in front of this house. I picked up a golden vase, and the purpose of that is to get a lot of money. So I'm gonna sell this golden vase, and then buy another wing. The wing is the thing that always warps us to this town here, this castle town. The sapphire wing also we can sell for profit to this very grateful dude here.
Yeah, so this dude lost his wedding ring, which is what the sapphire ring is, and the very trustworthy shopkeeper just happens to find it and has it available for sale. So
we bought it. We could technically haggle down the price of those things, but it just takes too long, and there's no point. It doesn't actually like change the money that we need. Like we perfectly have as much money as we need to buy the equipment. Note 0 gold. I'm gonna actually equip this stuff. On level 2 routes, we don't equip it because it doesn't actually change our damage output. But on level 4, it does. This is the best NPC in the game because she says like, "Do you know what I'm about to tell you?" And then we're like, "Yes." And then she's like, "Will you do the thing?" And we're like, "Yes." And then that's it. No giant expo dump unless you actually ask for it.
Sarah is probably one of the greatest NPCs in speedrunning history, specifically because she lets you skip exposition if you say yes, which is also the default option.
I'm gonna kill a few things here to get a little extra XP, because the numbers don't quite work out. Like, you still have to kill a few things. I'm not gonna try very hard at like running into these guys, like going out of my way to do it, because that's not worth it. But I will try and get a few of them anyway.
Yeah, if they're in the way, you might as well go for them. So you have to deal. So you don't have to deal with as many enemies later. Because either way, once we finish this side quest that we're working on, where what we're doing is we're trying to find Luda Gemma, who has been sleepwalking.
Yes, well, here he is. He's gonna walk into this clinic here, but then he's gonna go sleepwalking.
Yeah, so we have to go find him again. He found himself that last time, but turns out he got lost in a world map that's quite tiny, which is very impressive.
Quite.
But that finishing this quest isn't going to give us quite enough experience to get to level 4. It'll give us like level 4 and like 3/4, or level 3 and 3/4. So we're just killing a couple extra enemies here, and then we'll have to kill a few enemies outside the first dungeon to be able to fully get to level 4. And the reason we're going to level 4 without getting overly technical is because it's an old RPG. The damage formulas are super weird.
It's a Falcom RPG, so the damage formulas are extra weird.
Yeah, and so the amount of damage you do with for your strength stat scales really in a very, very crazy way.
It also doesn't help that the maximum level in this game is 10, so
Yeah. So stats increase by a lot per level. So if you happen to get level 4 with the longsword specifically, he has to have the second level of sword, then you do significantly more damage to this next boss, and you also have a lot more health.
yes.
So the boss fight becomes very, very easy, whereas when we do it under-leveled in the faster route, which is only faster if you don't die to the boss 100 times, you're dealing like minimal damage to the boss, and it takes a lot longer. It's a longer fight, but you don't have to worry about doing the side quest. So it ends up being about 2 minutes faster with if you don't die to level 2 fight, but this route is significantly safer for marathons.
Yes, and the level 2 fight is the hardest boss in the game by a lot.
Yes.
Like, none of the other bosses even compared to how hard level 2 is. I'm gonna do a save before this boss, because it shouldn't be an issue, but I have actually died to this before.
Yeah, it is a fairly
easy
fight.
marathon.
Yeah, it's a fairly easy fight, but things can still go wrong. There's a lot of randomness associated with this fight, and invincibility frames don't really exist in this game. So if you get stuck in this fire, you can just suddenly take a lot of damage. Like you saw, he was in the fire for like.
If this was level 2, I'd already be dead.
Yeah. Yeah, you see, that's just chipping away at his health, and you only have about 35 health at level 2. So it's a very, very scary fight at that level. But we made it through, so now we're going into the shrine.
Pick up some important items here, namely the ability to actually open chests and the ability to open the prison cell.
Yeah, this is probably the one time that Adel actually keeps an item he picks up, because he never has an issue with locked treasure chests after East 1, so he must have held onto the treasure chest key.
That's not the right side. Cool. There we go. There's a treasure box key.
Also, even though we are level 4 here,
it's very scary.
Yeah, it's still incredibly scary. The blue fire enemies you still can't hurt, and they happen to end up in really bad spots to make themselves unavoidable and can just cost a lot of time.
And no, I got hit by the spider once, and I got hit by that much. We're getting hit by the spider once.
Don't hug the spiders.
Yeah.
They're not your friends. So here we have a really interesting trick that
I failed it.
You failed it?
I completely failed it.
So when you're talking to Fina there, you can actually, by pressing confirm, cancel, and confirm when she asks you, when you have the option to take her with you, you can actually trick the game to giving you experience points twice there. To get 1,000 instead of just the 500 you would get normally. Tux normally has a habit of being able to get it 3 times, which he's one of the few people I know that can actually get the trick 3 times. But this time we're rolling without it. Also, I think she was getting...
Yeah, she got lost. Unfortunate.
So there's a trick here that you can do where sometimes you can run into the wall there, or she can still be behind that wall, but she'll be aggroed on. If she's still
instead of following you, then she falls all the way up into the screen transition.
Yeah, it's a kind of like it's a fairly consistent strat, but it does get kind of scary if it happens to not work.
Yeah, because Fina dying here is a game over.
Yep. There's
which we've also done more often than we would care to admit.
Yeah, specifically once he gets back outside, there's one of those blue knights that spawns just to the right of the entrance, and that enemy likes to, sometimes he just likes to run between Adel and Fina, and 2 hits from any enemy will meet her end. And yes, as someone in chat points out, you can in fact level Fina. If you
that is in fact a Steam achievement.
It is. You can use a mirror, which is an item we'll see later, to freeze time, and if you happen to position an enemy between her and yourself, you can actually have her damage an enemy, and she'll get levels.
And then let's time to go to the scariest portion of the game, by far, because we're not actually supposed to be going in here yet.
Yeah, this next section we call early mines, because we go to the mines early. We're very, very good at naming trips. And this is the second dungeon in the game. You're supposed to go in here when you're about level 6 or 7. And as you can tell, we are level 5, and we also still have the basic armor equipped. So anything in here will
basically instantaneously kills us.
Yeah, we do have the shield ring, which we picked up in the shrine, which halves all damage we take outside of boss battles. Also, shoutouts to the chest that's being coated in butter. But we'll be picking up armor that will help, but still. The shield ring gives us double defense outside of bosses, but still that means we'll die in like
2 hits. That was one.
In like 4 or 5 hits instead of...
Yeah.
Yeah, see. We die in 3 hits instead of 2, so gives us a little bit of extra safety.
Okay, that's not the right way. What's the stupid thing? There it is.
So the lore of East 1, basically we are a red-headed, not yet adventurer, because...
Not yet adventurer. We became an adventure earlier in the day. Well, in the first one of this marathon, we became an adventurer.
Yes, which is technically East 4's plot. Oh, yeah, nice eyeball hug. So those enemies are terrifying. They're, like, all the enemies are scary. Those eyeball enemies are, like, the really, really scary ones. So we're here to basically, this place that we're in right now is an island that's surrounded by like a ton of storms randomly, and you hear that monsters have shown up, and so we're like, that sounds dangerous enough to be very exciting. Let's go check it out. And that's what we're doing. We're finding out what's going on here, and we discovered that we need to grab books because plot reasons.
It's also concert time, which means I can take a break on my my hands a little.
Yeah.
This
so
is
cutscene
completely unskippable. Well, it is skippable, it just doesn't do anything, because the music will go through anyway, so there's no real point in skipping the video part of this cutscene.
Yeah, so you can either enjoy the cutscene or you can just stare at the sprite work. Which either way, the sprite work is very beautiful in this game, so I would not playing. It's just when you have two choices, I kind of like the option, the cool anime cutscene.
But now we're actually gonna go back to the village. But first, we need to pick up something, since we collected some important items to allow
so
this
we were
to
picking
happen.
up some fairly random items in the mines. Like, we got silver armor. That's really cool. That's the second best armor in the game, and required to progress. But we picked up a harmonica, which belongs to Rhea there. It's a silver harmonica, so it's special because silver is special in these first two games. And then we picked up a seed, and eating the seed lets us talk to this tree here, and this tree gives us the silver sword, which is the second best sword in the game, also required to beat it, and we just got a huge equipment upgrade, which will make this next section of the game very, very fast, very easy, which is what makes doing mines early worth it, because it makes this part so much faster.
Yes, we also need constant time to wake up the willow tree so we can talk to it, otherwise it's just sleeping.
Yeah, that's why she needed a harmonica, is because it's been asleep for 700 years, and obviously the best way to wake up a tree that's been sleeping for 700 years is to play a shrill harmonica through a silver instrument.
I'm gonna go talk to Fina and Jeva there to deal with some event flags. I can do it later if I want to, it's just more convenient to take care of that at that point while I'm already kind of there.
Yeah, there's a lot of flags you have to set in order to gain access to the final dungeon. One of which is Adol actually can't read the books. They're in like a really old language that no one understands anymore, except for Jeva, fortunately. So we have to have her read the books to us, which is how the game checks to make sure we have all three. Where we have to have her read, we have to have her read the first three books to us. And we have to see all of the scenes with Fina.
Yep.
And the game will then give us and then the game will then let us proceed to the final dungeon. Yeah, I would definitely recommend all of the East games. They're all very good, even E6.
The reason why I'm kind of trying to like kill most of the things here is because level 7 is a really important threshold.
Yeah, if we get to level 7 in this dungeon right here, we can beat the next boss in 4 hits.
There we go.
And that's very important because it's either beat the boss in 4 hits or beat him in like 12.
Yeah.
But it's still an easy fight, but it's just significantly faster doing 4.
It's in fact free! I really shouldn't say that.
Yes, it is. Many people comment that the level 7 boss is in fact free. And some people say that right before attempting the fight in a run. And yes, the sword is shown.
Some people also have died to this free boss in very hilarious fashion.
And most of the East 1 runners may or may not have a bot command in their chat dedicated to this person. That pulls up the clip of them dying to this boss. Yeah, a lot of people do say that the TurboGrafx version of this game, because it also has the cutscenes and stuff, is kind of one of the more definitive versions of this game. The downside being the fact that it's on the TurboGrafx, which not a lot of people played.
Hey, there we go. I didn't die to the boss.
Yay! So yeah, that was Nick Tilger. It's a boss.
It's a boss.
A lot of the boss. Like we said, this is a very, very early JRPG, action RPG. So a lot of the bosses, they were just kind of trying to figure out what they're supposed to do with boss fights. So you get silliness, you get absurdities like Genocris and the later boss that are just super hard and annoying. And then you get just really dumb bosses like Nick Tilger and a boss we'll see later.
Uh-huh.
Where it will literally be run in circles on top of its hitbox and hope that you kill it before it kills you. So the boss designs in this game are, for the time, they were probably fine, but they, in retrospect, they're a little interesting. They improved on this a little bit in East 2 when they decided to also make the game a curtain fire shooter, which we'll see it a little bit later. Yes, there's also the Bat Boss in this game, which is another example of wonderful game design.
Yes.
We'll see that in a couple minutes.
Everyone loves it casually. To be honest though, like, people actually hate that boss the most in casual, but in some of the speedrun, the only thing we kind of are annoyed by it is its RNG. Like, we have no concerns about dying to it generally.
Yeah. For reference, my personal best has like 30 is third on the fight, the bat fight, whose name is Vagulian, is about 30 seconds off of my gold split. So just literally the boss decided that day that, oh, I'm just gonna take 30 seconds from you. And it's like, alright, well, good thing the rest of the game went fairly well. Conscard is actually interesting in the PC-88 version. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, because in this one, Conscard is just a very silly fight. In Nightmare, it's silly for the opposite reason, because 90% of the time he kills you first.
Yeah. I believe I've gotten myself a little bit on the lost side, but that's okay. There we go.
Yay! So yeah, this is where we will be grinding to max level, which sounds a little which sounds a little absurd until you remember what Tux said, that the max level is 10. So we're going to be grinding 2 levels here, and we're going to be trying not to take a lot of damage, because sometimes this game likes to be rude. Specifically these knights here.
Yeah. Which is why I saved before the night.
They decided, oh, let's put you in a single tile-wide hallway and make
I
you
don't
run
really want to be taking extra damage before the grind. Like, I have shield wings, so it's pretty safe, but still, you don't want to take extra damage. Especially since I do what I usually do, but pretty much no other runner does, and skip a heal potion.
Oh yeah, we have a little bit of contention about strats, and by contention I mean joking contention. Where the shield ring that Tux picked up takes about 7 seconds to pick up. And the heal potion that he skipped also can take about 7 seconds to pick up. And generally it's recommended you either pick up both or pick up the heal potion, because heal potions put you back up to full health. in this game, so it's either, so generally, like, once people start doing things like level 2 Genocris and are trying to cut out as much as they can, they generally cut out the shield ring first. Tux opted, he's like, well, since they take about the same amount of time to pick up, oh yeah, that's hugging the ant lions.
Also not appreciated. So this grind is pretty scary up until about level 9, and then it's pretty safe. But until level 9, it's you take some good damage. Theoretically, if I have this well lined up and the spawns are nice to me, I can just go up and down without taking any damage. So I'd rather set that up than do anything else. Like, I'd rather set that situation up than and restart than try and like go into level 9 on the health.
Yeah, and you ideally just, like, the Goulian's a fairly easy fight in general, but he can still be weird. And so you want to have somewhere around 100 health once you hit level 10, which is normally not a big issue. Which Tux will be fine with, just in case things go weird. Because
yeah, I'm pretty comfy up until about 70 health. Under 70 is when I start getting nervous, personally.
Fortunately, the grind from this point on, now that he's level 7, is a lot easier because you take less damage and you kill the enemies in 2 hits.
Unfortunately for me, though, that the antlion on the top decided to run off somewhere, and it's just not worth chasing it down and like losing this setup.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part, is because enemy pathing is random until they aggro onto Adol, they can just kind of walk away. Sometimes you get the opposite effect, though, where...
I did lose the setup, though, a little bit earlier, because I went down a little too far, and that nudged me to the left a bit.
Yeah.
But I got the setup back, so it's cool.
Nice. Sometimes you get the opposite effect, though, where an antlion from the net, like, from just a room over, or a knight from really far away, or just an enemy will happen to wander into this room. And in that case, you get an extra kill, which saves a few seconds, which is very nice. It's pretty rare, and it's not something you ever really want to depend on, or hope will happen. I mean, you hope it happens, but it's not something you're like really planning on happening. But it does cut down, you know, a few seconds every time it happens. A bit more. These enemies give about 500 experience every kill, so we're making our way steadily there. This is really the best spot to get experience at this point in the game, because despite the fact that we're only about halfway through the game, the devs decided when they were scaling everything that they wanted us to be max level for the next boss. So that means we just kind of go through the entirety of the second half of the game at max level, which is very nice. It's just kind of interesting because all of the enemies still give you experience, technically, in the final dungeon, which doesn't mean anything. In the TurboGrafx version, you get levels throughout.
Yeah, because they actually merged the two games together.
Yeah, so you still have to do like a bit of leveling in the tower for bosses there, and also for the East 2 section of the game.
Essentially, as Falcom has a really bad habit of doing, they bit off more than they could chew and had to split the game into 2. They've done this like at least 3 times.
So here's the riveting gameplay of the Goulian.
Maybe 4 times, because East 1 and 2 were originally one game in development. Cold Steel 1 and 2, and first chapter and second chapter were all one game in development. And then they like, this game is now too big, we need to split it into 2 games now. I'm not sure if CS3 and 4, Cold Steel 3 and 4 were like that. I wouldn't be surprised if they want.
So, the Goulian here is
No Wolf is saying it's at least 5.
Sky Crossbell, CS1-2, CS3-4, E1-2.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Crossbell.
So, fun fact about this boss here. Every time you see it kind of cluster up and then not attack you, or then not reform, the game is actually rolling if he's going to reform or not, and then said no. Oh, we're having actually stuff. Okay.
The clip does not help me if I'm just trying to go to the village. The reason why I did it last time was because I needed to go to the tree. And that's much faster with the clip. But if you're going to the village, then there's no real faster route out of bounds.
Yeah, it is significantly faster to do the clip for, or not significantly faster, it's like 30 seconds at most.
It's significant enough for a 50-minute game.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because otherwise you have to go like all the way around because there's not a direct path between the two. It's faster because it lets you make your own direct path to the gold vase and to the silver sword instead of having to walk all the way around. But yeah, if you're just going up north, doesn't matter. In fact, it's slower to try to clip. So yeah, we had Jaba read to us, and we also had to tell her that her granddaughter, or niece, I don't remember the relationship between Jaba and Sarah, got stabbed. So
and then Adel goes on a touching date on the pier.
Yep.
Like, Adel definitely has a type, and it's blue-haired goddesses.
Yeah.
Like, I used to like say that Adel's true type was adventure, like Adel likes adventure all the way, but then they released 8.
Can we now marry Fina? Unfortunately,
also shoutouts to the East 2 ending on TurboGrafx where they actually kiss.
They added things to canon and then promptly removed them to make Adol more aloof, I guess. Or they just didn't want to animate them kissing in the remakes. Adol's true type is boats. That's a very one-sided relationship.
So on these ledges, balconies, there is a slightly optimal path. I don't bother with that. It seems like half a second or something per balcony.
Which, considering there's like 20 balconies,
it's significant.
Yeah, it's significant, but it's one of those situations where if you stop to look at which way you're supposed to go, you've already lost the time.
Yeah. And you get it's about half of one way and half of the other way, so just going left every time gets you half the benefit, which is pretty good.
You're right, Dogi is a blue-haired goddess. He's there for his frozen adventure. That was a good one. That was a very good one. Yeah. Also, shoutouts to Tower of the Shadow of Death, which is the song that plays through this area.
Yes, as usual, Falcom has great soundtracks from the very beginning. Like, one of the big innovations for this game, way early on, is one of the versions, they used, like, actual CD sound, like CD player music. And so in one of the versions, you can just, like, shove your game into a CD player, and it's like an OST. It's like a soundtrack. there's our friend Ludagama, which we will really not like in a few minutes. In like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And here's Dogi. That was mandatory tea time.
Yeah. Shoutouts to input breaks being very nice.
When we got put into jail, all of our equipment got lost, but we punch really hard now.
Yeah, so my favorite moment in this game is when you run out of the jail cell and you just kind of punch that enemy so hard he explodes. Adol's been lifted. Mind if you hear the sound of my typing. I'm just getting set up for the run after this.
Yes, because we're gonna go straight into the sequel.
Yes. Appropriately enough, East 2 happens to take place literally 5 minutes after, somewhere between 5 and 15 minutes after East 1, and we're gonna be playing.
I forgot
East
something.
2.
That's okay.
Oh, did you forget? Oh, did you forget to give old? Oh, you forgot Raba time.
Yeah, I forgot Raba time.
At least you didn't walk into the trap again.
I have done that.
It's you have to wait. If you walk into the trap without the charm or the pendant, you have to wait for Dogi to save you again. Which, if you do 3 times, you get a Steam achievement. It's ironic that Dogi spends Lacrimosa of Donna building walls.
That is kind of true, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, this here segment is why the Japanese version is much better than the English version, the English Chronicles Plus version, because text boxes in Japanese just fly.
Yeah, it doesn't help that they actually, between the Chronicles and the Chronicles Plus version, they changed how text boxes clear and fill. So not only does Japanese just go faster, it also, the text moves faster. So this is like a 20-second conversation in English, and it's like a 15 to 17-second conversation in Japanese in the Chronicles version. Which, again, in the grand scheme of things, isn't a ton, but it's enough to make a difference.
Every time I go through the trap, I get a little nervous that I hadn't actually equipped the blue necklace.
Yeah, that's one of those mistakes that you make exactly once, and then you're too paranoid about it afterward, and then from then on you're just paranoid about it.
Here we recollect the silver sword, which is very relevant because otherwise we do no damage to any of the rest of the bosses.
Yeah, you very much need that, because, yeah, otherwise you don't hurt the rest of the bosses, and the final boss...
Hi, Dogi, bye, Dogi. Just dropping by. Not gonna talk to you or anything. We're a very, very good friend.
Dogi giveth and does, yeah. He giveth walls and he taketh walls. He just happens to have a reputation for the latter.
Oh! Yeah, this boss, if you mistime things, can just kill you.
Yeah, like we said, hitboxes don't really exist. Or not
iframes.
Hitboxes exist. Iframes don't exist. Yes.
Also, the issue of we have no armor at all,
Yeah.
which is fine as long as you just don't get hit.
Yeah, this boss is fairly... It's not too difficult in general because he only throws 3 blades at once, and he won't throw more until he's picked back up the 3rd one.
Yeah.
The issue is that sometimes he throws these scythes out like across the room, and then you can get a lot of hits. Other times he literally throws them like an inch in front of his face and catches them immediately, and you don't have time to react to that. So it's a fairly easy fight, but it can go horribly wrong if it decides to.
Yeah, like the first time I was not careful about my timing and just got crunched. I mean, I probably could have beaten that boss, but I didn't want to risk actually dying. It's faster to just restart the fight, try again, generally. Oh yeah, I have to do this very important task. Hammer. I could have demonstrated what happens if you don't do that, but it's not that interesting.
You get to listen to a very lovely organ tune. It's very rousing to the soul.
Very rousing to the soul.
In fact, some people say it takes the soul right out of your body. So yeah, we skipped the Devil's Corridor puzzle. Otherwise, that becomes a death room. So, would not recommend forgetting that.
Would not recommend dying.
Luckily, it's a very, very fast mistake to realize that you've made, since it is literally the next room.
Dreaming is so good.
Very good. All of these songs are very, very good.
Yeah. Ah, Rocky Balboa. Yes, this is, as far as you can tell, the intended way to beat this boss.
Yeah, this fight is pinnacle of game design. So there are actually 2 very different and complex strats you can use here. You can either run in a circle, or you can run up and down. Some people run left and right. If they want to really spice things up.
I messed that up, didn't I? Yeah.
Yeah, so the mirror maze is, casually, this part is terrible.
Yes. It's terrible because you would think that right here the correct thing to do is, like, go somewhere else. No, the correct thing is to go back into the same maze, in the same year.
Shoutouts to the fact that World Record for several months actually went the wrong way in this maze. Korzik was pretty upset about that. It was during a race, and he was very much on world record pace, and then you just hear him get really mad, and we're like, what happened? He's like, I went the wrong way in the mirror maze and just lost 15 seconds. And we're like, ouch. And then he still got world record, but...
Yeah, it's Korzik. He's incredible at this game.
Oh yeah, Korzik's amazing. Shoutouts to Questing for Glory last year, where I decided it'd be fun to race him in East 1 and 2, and got absolutely destroyed by both him and the game. You can indeed run diagonally in this. It doesn't really make a difference in East 2, or in East 1 rather, like, because most of the areas are very, like, rigidly grid-based. Like, of course you can cut corners, which makes things faster. But, it's not that big of a deal. Oh, hey, it's the one isometric room in the entire game. In East 2, they added a special thing to make it so that running diagonally, at least in the Chronicles version of East 2, where running diagonally actually benefits you on normal difficulty. But on easy mode, it doesn't matter anyway. And then on hard mode, they changed it back to how it works in this game, where if you don't want to take return damage from enemies, you have to hit enemies off the center of their hitbox. Which is why sometimes you see him get knocked back by enemies, sometimes he doesn't. In East 2, they made it so on normal, if you run into a diagonal, you'll always be dealing damage, and then on easy, they make it so you can just run into enemies and always deal damage regardless of where you're hitting them.
Wait, I should probably actually read those books before I forget to do so.
Yes. Otherwise, otherwise Ludogema will just kind of be like, "Oh, hi." Yes,
I know from the beginning that the mirror is the next item for me to I need, so I'm just gonna equip it now instead of deal with the super tinted screen, which I don't really care for.
Yeah, the monocle gives Adol some pretty sick shades that tint the entire game yellow, which is exciting in its own way.
Yes, I just prefer not to play that way.
Oh, no, for sure.
Like, this screen gets really annoying when it's yellow, because it's just like this super drab brown.
Yeah, it's, especially because it does tint things, it makes everything darker and a lot harder to see. Optimally, you do the last two bosses with the monocle on, but some people choose to do that, some people don't. It just saves a menu. But you do get to see the world in a nice shade of sepia tone for a bit.
And the reason why we don't like this guy in our speedruns is because he forces us to talk to him again here, and there's no way to skip that.
Yeah, so there's a door literally right before the final boss between Yaglex and Omu, who is the next boss, and this dude, and the final boss. There's a door, and that door is locked. And
you need that item that he just gave you to do it, and in order to get the item, you need to read all the books and backtrack all the way.
Yeah, it's the Wade's game of making sure you're actually reading all the books, is to regularly have, like, walls in place to make sure you do it. It's just unfortunately that they decided that Ludogema needed to be on the 10th floor after you'd already made it to, like, the 15th or 16th. So we get to do this nice backtrack, and then we make it backtrack again. Or forward track again.
Super fun. Again, another quality game design decision from the 80s.
Yep. Also, shoutouts to this room, which is 100% empty of literally anything. Floor 12, that is.
Yeah.
And it's the floor that we go through, it's one of the floors we go through the most. And it's literally devoid of anything. No enemies, no items, nothing. I am super excited for Monstrum Nox to come out.
Yeah, I am also super excited for Monstrum Nox.
I need to pre-order it once I have money again, because super excited, and especially...
I also need to pre-order it, but I'm not that concerned until we get to the... oh, I already equipped it. Now, there is a safety strat if you forget the mirror here, that I had to go do once. You can blast through those, like, brute force through those, if you have the silver armor, but that's kind of out of the way.
Hey, Fina won. Shoutouts to Fina.
Yeah!
Yeah, that area is lovingly referred to as Scorpion Alley. It's a really awful room if you don't have the mirror.
Yeah. The first time I played through this, I did do that without the mirror and without brute forcing it. That's really painful.
Yeah, it's awful, because literally it's just you're in that hallway for like a minute or two just running face first into scorpions.
These guys can be a little rude, but so I'm gonna save before that.
Yeah, like we said before, the truly nefarious deed of the final boss is actually he went and coated all of the treasure chests in butter before Adel got here, and so they're all very slippery. So sometimes you can just run into that treasure chest and just fly around it right into the enemies, which is always fun.
Quite. So, the fun part of this the second Mia maze, is that this is opposite of the first one.
Oh yeah, you have to go left instead of right. You do not get to see the Fina ornament in these two because of the way the run works. I have to clear the data that would store where the ornaments are. So...
Whew. Time for yogurt and omelets. A nice balanced breakfast. Hopefully I can get this.
So sadly there will be no ornaments during these two. Yeah, this fight is something. This is definitely a fight.
It's one of the few games and bosses in RPGs that get easier as the boss goes on.
That's very true. And the other nice thing about the fight, or the other interesting thing about the fight, is it's one of the few fights that's actually easier on keyboard than controller. Because, again, iframes don't exist. When the enemies cross paths, if you manage to mash back and forth fast enough, you can deal a lot of damage. Unfortunately, yeah, this boss is a little difficult to, it can just be difficult sometimes. It's a consistent fight, it's literally the same every time, but just sometimes it's harder. And there's not really a reason other than just some days.
I'm just not getting it today, apparently.
Yeah, some days your hands just don't like the fight, I can attest to that. I have the weird thing that I can only do the fight on analog stick. I use D-pad for 98% of the run, but I have to use analog stick for this fight and the final boss. Otherwise, I can't do the fight.
I was close.
So it's a rough fight.
And the more nervous you get, the worse it gets.
That's true. It's like you start dying in the fight, and then you're even during like a run where like a no reset run or something where you really don't care about your time. You start dying to the fight, and then you just start getting annoyed or like freaking out a little bit, like, why can't I beat this boss? And then you move a little bit off, and just the fight kind of escalates. So everyone send up your energy, so you can.
There we go. 13 HP. That was way too close. Equipped to the silver sword because the boss is literally immune to anything besides silver. There is someone somewhere that talks about that.
Yeah, there's a couple places, and it's hinted at throughout the game because the final boss is stealing everything made of silver. Yeah, it's a hard boss to do for sure. And good for saving the final boss. So here is Dark Fact. He is known for being one of the dumbest final bosses, hardest final bosses in the series.
On Nightmare, it took me 6 hours.
Yeah, I have not beaten this boss yet on Nightmare. He's the one thing that stopped me from having the quote platinum for this game. But Tux took him out like an expert, and time is going to be on closing the last textbook after reading.
Now. And that's East 1.
GG.
Yeah, Pinball Wizard's a big pain in the Nightmare because it does a lot more damage and it's a lot faster. The fireballs that fly around during that fight, you can technically dodge, but realistically you can't. So it's just really like a clock.
Okay, I'm gonna jump out to get ready for my run, but GG Tux. I'll see y'all in a couple minutes.
Alright, thank you to Schulte, letting me back up for this on short notice.